Hello children, let me welcome you to the virtual class of the Brihan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika. My name is Shraddha teacher. Children, we are in the middle of this COVID-19 pandemic and because of that we are not able to go to school, but that doesn't mean we are going to stop learning. So we are going to do many lessons which are very interesting from your textbook through the virtual class here. So let us do a lesson in English today. Nice poem in English, and the name of the poem I will not directly tell you. I will show you some images and then let us try and see whether you know what the poem is. So what can you see here on the screen? You can see a tiny creature. Alright. Now especially during the rainy seasons, we see a lot of these creatures roaming around inside our house or sometimes in our compound, etc. Let me show you one more image now. See? This is also a beautiful, cute little creature. Some of us don't like to see them. Some of us get hateful when we see them, isn't it? Because they crawl on the ground and they have got a typical shiny kind of skin. Alright, so most of us don't like to see these creatures. One more image. See? What is this? Have you seen this around your house now, especially during the rainy seasons? This is a earthworm. Alright, this is an earthworm. And all the other pictures also that you see on the screen, they are also different types of worms. So today we are going to learn a beautiful poem about worms, and the name of the poem is The Worm. Now when we look at these tiny creatures crawling all around the ground, okay, sometimes on the trees, we find them to be very useless. We feel, what is the need for these creatures to survive on this earth? But remember, God has created even the tiniest of creatures with some kind of, you can say, objective or some kind of goal. So even if a creature is very small, even if it is a worm, you should learn to appreciate its role in this world. So that is what the poem will tell us about. So when we read the poem, we'll understand why these worms are also important. Before that, let us try and solve a small exercise in your book. Now we have an exercise about think how the following creatures can be useful. So which are the creatures they've told you to think about? The first creature is the dragonfly. Have you seen a dragonfly? Sometimes children play with these kind of creatures also. They tie a thread to its tail and they make it fly. That is very, very cruel. You should not do things like that. Alright. So what is a dragonfly? A dragonfly is a beautiful insect which has got colorful wings, and the dragonfly itself is colorful sometimes. So what use is the dragonfly to us? What do you think? Are they around just like that? Or has God put them on this earth with something in mind? Has God thought about something when He created the dragonfly? So let's see how dragonflies are important. Dragonflies, they eat harmful insects. Okay? And thus they reduce the use of pesticides. Now you will say, so what? What if we use pesticides? What is wrong with it? See, pesticides are these kind of chemicals which are sprayed on vegetables, plants, crops, etc. What happens is the pesticides, they kill the harmful insects, but at the same time the roots, the leaves, the fruits, etc. of the plants, they absorb a certain amount of pesticide. And then when we cut these vegetables and when we wash them, the pesticides on the skin of course gets washed away, but there are certain amount of pesticide which gets absorbed by the fruit or by the vegetable or by the grain. That doesn't get washed away, children, and what happens? It enters your system. Nowadays you can see people are suffering increasingly from diseases like cancer. So scientists say that it could be a result of the use of these harmful pesticides. So can you see, such a small creature like a dragonfly can save you from a disease like cancer. So that is how this small insect, that is a small dragonfly, can be useful to you. Let us look at one more creature now. Which is this creature? Have you seen this around your house? And we also have a imaginary hero called Spider-Man based on this creature, isn't it? So this is a spider. So why are spiders around? Let me show you one more interesting picture of a spider. See the spider? This looks real, isn't it? As soon as you see a spider, what do? You scream and you run away, depending on the size of the spider. Okay, but these spiders are also useful to us. What do? They feed on the common indoor pests. Now what are pests? Flies are pests. Mosquitoes are pests. Okay, they create different kind of diseases in us. So these spiders, they feed on these common indoor pests. Can you see here? A spider has caught hold of a fly and now it will eat that fly. So don't you think the spider is trying to do some pest control in your homes? So that is why spiders are also important in the ecosystem. But that doesn't mean, children, that you should have spiders as pets in your house, okay? Because you must have seen your mummy, when she sees the spiders, the cobwebs we call them, she dusts them away. Alright? So it doesn't mean that you should encourage spiders living in your house. You should always try to keep your house clean by trying to clean the cobwebs. The cobwebs are the home of these spiders. You can see the cobweb here also. See? Look at this image. You can see this nice thread-like thing. These are the cobwebs which these spiders spin. They are the home of the spiders. Let us look at one more animal now, or creature now, and that is the ants. You must have seen this ant also around your house. There are different types of ants. You have the black small ones which are harmless. You have the red ants which are called as the fire ants. The moment you step on them, what do? They bite you badly and you get a bad itch, isn't it? You can see ants carrying away food, leaf, etc. from your house. So see this ant? Look at the size and look at the size of the leaf. So ants are very hard working creatures. Now how can ants be useful to us? Ants loosen the soil. And some of these ants, they feed on the eggs of harmful insects like flies, bed bugs, etc. So I already told you how flies are harmful for us. Flies, they go and sit on any dirty thing around your house and then they come and sit on your food and make you sick. The same is with bed bugs. They suck your blood, isn't it? So what do these ants do? They not only loosen and aerate the soil like earthworms, they also feed on the eggs of harmful insects like flies, like bed bugs, etc. So now half of the work I have done for you. Now you have to find out about 2 more creatures, but that will be your assignment. So as soon as you finish watching this video, you can search and try and find out how these creatures are useful to you. So which are these creatures? These are honeybees. The very obvious answer that you will give me is that honeybees give us honey. That is okay. Apart from that, you have to find out how these creatures are useful to us. Can you see a honeybee? You must have never have seen it so close, isn't it? Because if you go and try to catch a honeybee, what will it do? It will sting you badly. So honeybees, how they are useful to us is your homework. You have to try and find this out and write a few words or a few lines about it. One more creature is the earthworm. See? The earthworm. It looks very dirty. I told you, when we look at earthworms, we feel very dirty. But they are a very, very important part of nature. What is the use of this earthworm? How are they an important part of nature? What do they do for us? So these 2 things you have to find out today. How honeybees are helpful to human beings and how earthworms are helpful to human beings. So now we have created a background as to how the worm is very, very important for us. Worm means insect, something which belongs to the family of insects. Okay? So now let's read the poem which is there in our textbook by Thomas Gisborne. So Thomas Gisborne is a poet who has written this particular poem about the importance of worms. So as I read the line, I'm going to put a pointer there for you so you know where I am reading. So what you can quickly do is you can pause this video for now, go get your English textbook, open this page, and then you can start seeing the video again. So let me start. I will explain the important words also for you, or the new words also for you. So you can keep a paper and a pen ready so you can take down the meanings of the new words also. So turn thy hasty foot aside. Hasty here means hurried. Hasty foot aside. How can a foot be hasty? A foot is a part of your body. So you are hasty, okay? Your foot cannot be hasty. Hurried, when you are in a hurry to go somewhere, you do not look where you are stepping. So what do you do sometimes? Nor crush that helpless worm. So they're saying don't in a hurry, don't crush a helpless worm. Okay? The frame thy scornful. What is the meaning of scornful here? Scornful means hateful or contempt, something which you look at with a lot of contempt. Contempt means something which you don't like. Okay, you feel, array, this is not important. Someone who's not at all important. So scornful. Looks deride. Deride here means to make fun of something, to mock someone. Required a god to form. Means something which is so small that you can crush it under your feet and you give it scornful looks and you make fun of it. Like I told you, what do you do to a dragonfly sometimes? Young boys, what do they do to dragonflies? They tie a thread to its tail and they make the poor creature fly around. Isn't it? So that is making fun of it, mocking it. But remember, when you're doing all these things, it is a God which has created you. The same God has created all these worms and creatures. The common Lord of all that move, from whom thy being flowed, a portion of his boundless love. Okay? Boundless here means unlimited love on that poor worm bestowed. So, the common Lord of every living thing, the God which has created all the things that move. Move means all living things. Okay? And from whom everything has been born. So remember, just like you are getting his love, you are getting the love of that God, so is that poor worm getting the love of that God. The sun, the moon. So bestowed means to give something to someone or to grant something to someone. The sun, the moon, the stars he made, to all his creatures free. So when he created nature, when he created the sun, the moon, the stars, it was for everyone, and not only for the bigger creatures and not for the smaller creatures. No. Whatever he has created for all of us. Okay? And spreads over earth the grassy blade for worms as well as thee. So, whatever he has created, the grass also, when you sit on the grass and you find a worm there, what do? You immediately crush it. You say, arey, this worm is lying here. How will I sit now? So that should not be the attitude. You should try and not harm them. Because even though they appear to be tiny, they also have some role to play in God's world. Okay? So the grass which is created for you, you feel, human beings feel, that God has created everything for us. But that is not the case. God has created it for all creatures. And even for these small worms. Let them enjoy their little day. Why is it called as little day? Because we live for 60, 70, 80 years. But a poor worm, it hardly lives for 1 or 2 days. Their lowly bliss received. Lowly bliss means small, small happiness. Okay, let them enjoy their small happiness. Oh, do not lightly take away the life thou canst not give. So, if you cannot give life to someone, please do not take it away also. So, can you understand? Have you understood the meaning of what the poet wants to tell us through this poem? He wants to tell us that no matter how big or small a life is, or how big or small a creature is, it is also as important as your own life or your own self. So any life is important, whether it is a life of a worm, whether it is a life of a dog, whether it is a life of a cat. Okay, so never ever harm creatures. Try to love everything which God has created. So this was a poem, children. This was the meaning of the poem. We look at a few small points now here. For example, there is this concept in your textbook. They have asked you what are archaic words. Let me repeat this. Archaic words. ARCHAIC. So let us try and understand the meaning of archaic words. So, archaic words are words that were once widely used. Once, not now. Okay? But they are no longer part of the English language. So in today's language, modern English that we use, these kind of words are not used at all. And such kind of words are called as archaic words. So these archaic words, they were used mostly during the Middle Ages, when people like Shakespeare, you must have heard about this English playwright, writer, author, he was a big poet also. So people like who belong to that age, the age of Shakespeare, that is the Middle Ages, they used to make use of these archaic words, which are no longer in use today. Alright, so let us look at a few examples of archaic words from the poem. So turn thy hasty foot. So thy is an archaic word. You will not hear anyone saying thy. We will look at the meanings also later. Okay. Then you have thy being. So now jaise thy is archaic, thy being is also archaic. Then you have the word bestowed. We do not use this word too much nowadays. Okay. Then you have the word thee, and then you have the word canst. So we don't use or we don't hear these words being used today. So these are the archaic words which have been used in the poem. Let's try and understand the meaning of these archaic words. So thy means your. Okay. So we say your honor, in the same way we say thy honor. Thy means yours. And then you have the next word, thy being means yourself. Alright, your existence or yourself. Bestowed means to bless someone with something. Bestowed. And then you have thee or thou. These are other words for you. When you say you, now in the olden times they used to say thee or they used to say thou. Okay? And then you have canst. Canst means simply cannot or can't. So these are the examples of archaic words, and these are the meanings of these archaic words. So in simple words, many of these archaic words are standing for pronouns. Okay, thy being, thee, thou, all these are words which are used instead of the noun, pronouns. Alright children, so this was the next point that we had to do in this lesson. Now let's do one. It's a poem, so there is an important part of poems called as figures of speech. So let us try and see what is the figure of speech that the poet has used in this particular poem. So the poet uses a device where he directly addresses someone absent or abstract. Absent, when someone is not there at all, but you're talking to him. Or when something is abstract. For example, if you talk to the trees, if you talk to the mountains, then you're talking to something which is abstract, because that person cannot reply back to you. Okay? So this kind of a figure of speech, or this kind of a device that the poet uses, is called as apostrophe. For example, see here, turn thy hasty foot aside. So you're talking to the foot. Alright? Like I told you when I was explaining the poem. You're talking to the foot, you should talk to the person, because it is a person who moves and not the foot by itself. So this is what is an apostrophe. Let us try and understand it better here. So you are addressing someone absent, or someone dead, or someone non-human. It is not a human being at all, but still you are addressing that person as if that person is present, or that person will just reply to you now. So, O nature, thou art my goodness. So you are talking to nature. Little lamb, who made thee? So will the little lamb talk to you? It doesn't know how to speak. Blow, winds, blow. So here you are talking to the winds. So these are all examples of apostrophes. Let us look at some more examples before we wind up this lesson today. See, bright star, how I wish I were as steadfast as thou art. Okay, so here, bright star, you're talking to the bright star. You can see some examples of archaic speech also over here. Thou. Now, hello darkness, my old friend, I've come to talk to you again. So who is he talking to? He's talking to the darkness. He's saying hello darkness, and he's calling darkness as his old friend also. So it is an example of apostrophe. Blue moon, you saw me standing alone. So you're talking to the blue moon. Okay children, so these were examples of apostrophe for you from the poem. So what did we do today? Before we started reading the poem, we tried to understand the importance of, or the background of why the poet wants to write a poem about worms. Then we read the poem, we tried to understand the difficult words there. We also looked at the meaning of archaic words and examples of archaic words from the poem. Then we looked at a figure of speech, that is apostrophe, and we saw some examples of apostrophe.
So children, now you have watched the video. So after you watch the video now, you will have to complete a few simple tasks. Now you might have watched the video on your computers or your laptops or your mobile phones. Now after you watch the video, what will you do? You will please go to the description box which is given below the video. So what is the description box? See, the description box looks like this. Alright, and after you go to the description box, you will see that there are a few questions there. Now what are these questions about? These questions are about the lesson that we just learned or the video that you just watched. So what will you do? You will think back properly about the lesson and you will try and answer these questions and note down the answers in your notebook if you want. Okay? After that, we have another task waiting. You will also click on the link which you will find in the description box to fill up the Google form. So now what is the Google form, children? It is nothing but a simple form. There are a few simple questions there about the video which you just saw and also about yourself. So these are the tasks now that you will have to complete after you watch each video. So children, wasn't that a very interesting lesson? I'm sure you learnt a lot of new things in this lesson. If you have liked this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe to my video so that you will get to see all the videos which I keep posting regularly.